Hi, welcome to my video, welcome to my channel. Let me first introduce myself. I'm some dude from Germany. Now you're probably asking yourselves, why does some dude from Germany, who's never done a video like that before, because I haven't, this is the first time I make a video like this where I just sit here talking, expressing my opinion about something. My other videos are songs and compositions, mostly. Maybe you like them, you can check them out. Maybe like and subscribe, that would be nice. But I've never done a video like this before, so you're probably asking yourself, why is someone like that suddenly making a video like this, about Game of Thrones of all subjects? And secondly, why would the opinion of some dude from Germany matter? I'll answer the second question first, for the same reason that any opinion of any of those guys here posting that kind of video on YouTube matters. I'll just leave it at that. But to answer the first question, it's not as random as you might think. If you knew me, Game of Thrones is really like the greatest thing ever, to me, or one of the greatest things anyway. And the ending does obviously not change anything about that, as you can probably tell by the title. This video is first and foremost two things. It's me explaining stuff that I think people didn't get, and it's also me letting off some steam. I think the letting off steam part is the more important part, because, well, the explaining part is also important to me, and I hope that some people are influenced by it in some way and really reconsider some stuff, a little at least. But I guess the letting off steam part is the more important one still. And I believe that if anyone should be sympathetic towards the idea of letting off steam, it's the people who've been letting off steam a lot in the last month about how absolutely horrible the ending is, and how D&D are and they ruined George R. R. Martin's vision and blah blah blah. By the way, should you meet me in person, you can do whatever you want. You can knock me down, step in my face, slander my name all over the place. No, you can't do that either. But another thing you can do is refer to the showrunners of Game of Thrones, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, as Dumb and Dumber. I might actually punch you. This is how mad this is making me. And the reason for that is not because those people, I mean, I don't know those guys in person. They're not my personal friends or anything, you know. And I'm also not their lawyer. It's not my job to defend them. They can defend themselves or choose not to, as they seem to be doing right now. Which I believe I understand why that is. The last two books haven't come out yet. So they can't just come out and say it's going to be the same in the books, even though it's probably going to be the same in the books. It's very likely that it's going to be the same in the books. It's actually pretty obvious to me that it's going to be the same in the books, more or less. Not in all details, you know, but I mean, they have said it's going to be George R. R. Martin's ending. George R. R. Martin said it's going to be his ending. And it makes absolutely no sense for them to make up their own ending. Because if they made up their own ending, why an ending like this? That makes absolutely no sense, alright? The only reason they could have to make it up their own ending is to make it more Hollywood or something, and more mainstream. Not like this, you know. So you're admitting that the ending sucks. No, I'm not admitting any of those things, any such thing. I don't think it sucks. I still don't think it sucks. But I admit that it's not exactly mainstream, and that is actually the problem that people have with it, you know. Or one of the problems. Really, yeah, I'll get into that. Get into the details soon. The thing about this video is I'm not as prepared as I maybe should be, as even I think I maybe should be. There's some research I maybe should have done, but the real sad thing about this is that this is actually the second attempt to make this video. In the first part, I managed to kind of try to upload on my computer and then realize apparently I hadn't uploaded it on the computer for some reason. I don't know what went wrong. At least I can't find it anymore. But I deleted it from the camera to make space for the second part, which now I don't have to, hopefully don't have to do, because I'm trying to make this shorter. I'll try to, yeah, we'll see about it. There's a couple of things that I really want to say. And the way that I'm trying to structure this video is, I have a vague idea how I want to structure the video, which is I try to start at the end and then work myself back to the beginning of the season. So I hopefully don't forget important things that I might forget otherwise, because it might take me too much time to talk about the beginning of the rather not as important yet beginning of the season before I get to the more important stuff towards the end of the season or at the end of the season. So again, I don't know D&D, as I'm going to call them now for short, for brevity's sake, personally or anything. The reason I'm defending them is to indirectly defend myself and people like me. Because that is the real problem I have with this whole thing. I personally think these reactions to the Game of Thrones finale are incredibly stupid. Having said that, I don't think the people themselves are actually stupid people per se. Some of them might be, but that's beside the point. Because I wouldn't even know how would I? I don't know them personally or anything, you know. But this particular thing is stupid. Smart people can do stupid things too, which is actually already me getting ahead of myself a little in terms of one of the points that I'll be making later in the video, or try to make. Tyrion. So the thing is, I'm not trying to. I don't enjoy getting in fights with people. You know, I don't enjoy getting in fights with people. But this particular thing I couldn't leave uncommented. I just needed to get this off my chest once and for all now. This time around, in spite of being a little. Of having a little cold, of being a little sick, you know. Unfortunately, that doesn't make it exactly easier. But it's just there's just no point in waiting even longer than I already waited, and that's the reason why it's not as prepared as it maybe should be, because I would maybe never have done it. I mean, the thing is, even though it's 1.5 months ago since I made the first attempt, it's not like you don't have anything else to do in those 1.5 months, you know. So whatever, I couldn't find the time to make some of the research that I should have done, maybe should have done. Mostly I'm referring to, well, maybe first of all writing everything down or something, you know. I got a vague idea where I'm going, but and what order I want to address the subjects in, but it's not entirely sure. Secondly, there are 2 videos I'm going to talk about, I'm going to mention at least. One is the one from Lindsay Ellis, which is like the last of the Game of Thrones hot takes or something, which has been recommended to me several times and did not convince me at all. And I didn't watch the entire video. Maybe I should have. But the problem with it's actually not. The problem isn't even the time with that. It's really that it's really hard for me to watch an entire thing like that without already getting so angry that I just want to explode, you know. I mean, of course, what this is to a certain extent is someone having a different opinion, strongly disagreeing, and then of course being angry because someone has a different opinion. Yes, but it's not just. The thing is, if you just don't like it, right? If you're just like, okay, it's not for me, I didn't like it, fine, right? That's not what this is about. It's not even about people not getting it, even though I think they didn't. Because if it was just about people not getting it, I wouldn't be making a video like this, haha, yeah, I'm smarter than you, I figured it out, haha, just like that, you know, just to humiliate people or something, or prove how smart I am or something. It's the combination of people not getting it and being so damn mean and such jerks about it. That's the real problem, you know. People are jerks to the showrunners beyond description. It's unbelievable, you know. I just read just yesterday I read a comment. I hope Dumb and Dumber die. I think he didn't even call him Dumb and Dumber, but he said, I hope D&D die a painful death. Like, seriously? I mean, this is more than just not liking something, alright? This is more than just disliking a series finale. You act like those guys broke into your house and burned it down or something like that, you know? That would be a reason to react like that. That would actually be a reason to react even much more aggressive than that. That would actually be too harmless to just write something like that on YouTube if they did that. They made a series finale that you didn't like, right? Believe it or not, there are people who did like it. Huh? And by the way, among the people who did like it is none other than Stephen effing King. And now I'm going to say something rather stupid for the sake of honesty. I'm not actually the biggest fan of Stephen King, but he's a very respected author. And I mean, people also quote other respected authors who didn't like the ending, but if those authors I've never heard of, by the way, but okay, whatever. If those authors' opinion, if the fact that those authors didn't like the ending is a reason to believe that it sucked, then the fact that Stephen King liked it would be a reason to assume that it doesn't suck. So, yeah, Stephen effing King. This is probably not the last time I'm gonna mention that. Yeah, so the things that I'm trying to explain here are very basic things, which what I have seen from that Lindsay Ellis video, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, I could already tell I don't think she got, right? And then there's also a video made by Preston Jacobs that I'm gonna mention, where he was like ending fixed of Game of Thrones, and he described how he would have done it. And I really haven't watched much of that, just the beginning a little. I probably should have. Because one of the main problems I have with this whole thing is that a lot of people, if I asked people, how should the ending have been, or how would you have wanted the ending, what would you have preferred, you know, to what we got? A lot of people just say something better. And then when I say define something better, a lot of those people say, thinking they're so smart, I don't know, I'm not a highly paid author. Yeah, well, all I can say to that is, if you're not a highly paid author, if you admit to having absolutely zero idea about how to write a story, you shouldn't really be on that high horse of being the ultimate expert in good writing, should you? So in other words, then shut up. You know. And then someone thought that he was particularly smart, that I had a discussion with on the internet. Some German fan. Oh, by the way, which is one thing I have to make very clear, okay? Not that someone gets any wrong ideas here. This is not some German versus Americans thing or something, you know. I'm not bashing the American fans in particular, because it's not like the fans from other countries are any better, you know. I mean, the actual fans, people who have my opinion, of course, I agree with. That doesn't have anything to do where they come from. In every country there is, basically, except in the ones that Game of Thrones wasn't shown in, or whatever those countries are. Basically, every country there are people who agree with me, and I would agree with, and who have that rather positive opinion that I have on this whole thing. There's also a majority of people who are like, yeah, who get on the same D&D hate train. I'm just gonna call them D&D for brevity's sake. I already said that, I think. Yeah, and that goes for every country there is, including Germany. So that, just to make that clear, you know, this video is addressing the entire world, and I'm trying to make it in English, or more specifically American English, simply because American English is kind of dominated. It's kind of the dominating language with Hollywood movies and everything, you know. And also YouTube is made by Americans, and etc. etc. So I also, while we're speaking of that, I might accidentally pronounce things British, because we all learn British English at school. If I do that, don't be surprised, it happens sometimes. Yeah, I'm trying to make this American English here for the reasons I just explained. But if I accidentally pronounce something British, in sometimes, and that's the reason. So okay, so I already created like 100 loose ends, I think. It's a little chaotic. I won't deny that, because like I said, it's not as prepared as I maybe should be, and I didn't manage to prepare it any better within those 1.5 months. But like I said, one has different things to do also in 1.5 months sometimes, you know. And then why make the video at all, you ask? Yeah, because like I said, I need to get this off my chest. It's about time. I should have done it so much earlier, you know, already, yeah, and as it is, you know. But I mean, there's still people about the ending. I mean, it's not as intense anymore as it used to be, because it's kind of faded away. Those it's not like every second video that I have to watch. Well, I don't have to watch them anyway, I know, but I can't help. The thing is, if this is really simple. It's really simple actually. If you insult something that I actually like, you can be surprised that I'm insulted, and that I react accordingly. And the anger that has been building up inside of me since back then, is still there, and I have to let it out at some point. So there you go. And that's really all there is to it. And like I said, the reason why I'm defending D&D is because people are indirectly insulting the people who like the ending by bashing them like that, you know. And this is, let alone even if you don't consider the fact that it's just genuinely so effing rude and so uncalled for, you know, to be like that. What did they do to you, you know? It made a series finale that you didn't like. And again, there are people who did like it. Among them Stephen King. And me. Which is more important, because right now, because I'm making this video now. So, and I think it's totally appropriate to give you guys, or those guys, whoever is watching this video now, I mean, if you belong to the people who agree with me, then obviously I'm not talking to you, but about those guys, to give those guys a taste of their own medicine, you know, by being just as relentless and just as aggressive as they are. And they are really very aggressive, and well, not as relentless anymore actually, but still they were pretty at the time it was really I think this just says more than 1,000 words. So to get back to the Preston Jacobs video, no, okay, one loose end I can tie up now. There's one person I discussed it with on a German discussion board, who thought he was particularly, I guess it was a guy, he was particularly clever by pointing out that you don't have to be a cook to realize if the eggs are rotten, if you're being served rotten eggs or something when you're at a restaurant, you know. Yeah, the problem is eggs rotting is something that happens by itself. It's something natural. I mean, the cook can be a bad cook for using rotten eggs and not realizing that they're rotten. But the rotting itself is not his doing. In literature, in writing, which is what we were talking about here, nothing happens by itself. Everything has to be created by a writer. It can be created in a bad way. But since the eggs are not created by the cook to be rotten, or not rotten, I'm just saying it's a bad example, you know, it's a bad comparison. But even having said all that, there are dishes in which rotten eggs in which the eggs are supposed to be rotten. And this reminds me of a scene from, I'm pretty sure, from one of the Batman movies by Tim Burton, and pretty sure it's the second one, where Bruce Wayne sits there just staring at his monitors or something. Then Alfred comes up with something that looks like soup, or is soup, or some kind of soup, or looks like some kind of soup anyway. And then Bruce Wayne tries it and says, "Yeah, it's cold." And then Alfred says, "That's vichyssoise, sir. It's supposed to be cold." And that's the problem, you know. In other words, if you have absolutely zero idea about cooking, you can tell that something, you can say that you can tell I don't like this or that, you know. You can tell that you can eat a dish and you don't not like it, right? But you cannot, for sure, say why you don't like it. You will not be able to spell out why exactly you don't like it and what exactly is bad about it. If you have absolutely zero idea about cooking whatsoever, like I almost don't have. Yeah, it's getting better, a little better. Yeah. Okay, so, and this is the same goes for writing. If you have absolutely zero concept about writing, I'm a bit of a wannabe writer, at least. I hope I can scratch the wannabe part at some point. But for now, if someone admits, and thinking that's particularly smart, you know, to not having any idea about writing, you know, because I'm not a highly paid writer, you know, thinking this is actually insulting himself rather than the writer that he thinks he is, you know, because the writers are highly paid. They are supposed to be coming up with something better. Well, how do you know it isn't if you admit to having absolutely zero idea about writing? Let me, as someone who has a bit of an idea about writing, at least because I'm a bit of a wannabe writer, you know, tell you that a lot of the decisions that the writers made I can very much relate to. If I didn't, I wouldn't be defending the ending. I had for example, Pirates of the Caribbean Part 5. That was the one where I was like, why did the writers do that? I don't get it. I would have done it like this and that, you know. I'm not gonna get into detail what exactly that was. It's for a different video or whatever. Maybe I'll do more of those and about other subjects. We see about that. But for now, it's really just Game of Thrones, really just this letting of steam about that. Yeah, so there's that. No, but then to get back to Preston Jacobs, there are people like him who did, at least, thankfully, offer alternatives and be like, okay, I would have done it like this and that, you know? And that's why this is even more something that I actually should have read, I guess. But again, this is more about time, because this is also not just one video, he made like a whole series of them. So, if a lot of people tell me in the comment section that those videos are definitely going to convince me, you know, I should definitely watch those. And without having watched them, I can't really get it. And if I watch those, they're going to convince me. Then maybe I'll watch them. Maybe I'll make a separate video on them. I kind of doubt it, quite frankly. Because I think, like I said, I believe that I could relate to a lot of the choices that the writers made. And I think that I believe, without having watched it, that a lot of the things that he's suggesting how it should have been done aren't actually that bad. You know, I'm not saying they're necessarily completely bad, but I'm pretty sure, I expect them to forget about the process of adaptation and about what choices you have to make if you write a script for a TV show and the limitations of a TV show. Something that George R. R. Martin himself is very well aware of. Not only has he been writing for TV, himself, he's also been writing for that TV show. You know? So, having said all that, I'll try to get into detail now as quickly as possible. I've probably forgotten 100 things that I wanted to say, but maybe I'll make a different video or we'll talk about in the comment section or anything. Speaking of the comment section, alright, so again, I'm not trying to, like I already said, I'm not trying to insult anyone personally, right? I will still, however, probably during the course of this video shout out things like or something like that. if that happens, it will be in the heat of the moment, alright? Like I said, letting off steam. This is what this is mostly about. Getting this off my chest, you know? I need this. I need to be able to get that off my chest sometimes, you know? Even in that particular form sometimes. And I will still not tolerate, partly because of that, because it's not against anyone in particular, not even the people I'm naming by names, mostly Preston Jacobs and Lindsay Ellis. I don't think they're stupid people. I just think this one particular thing is stupid, or the one from Lindsay Ellis anyway. Preston Jacobs is yet a different story because he comes from a book reader's perspective very much, and he's yet, the book readers I also don't get. The book readers have been about the entire show since far earlier, you know. There were people who have watched one season, and then I know that for a fact. Some people told me they were George R. Martin fans. They were fans of the Song of Ice and Fire. They watched the first season or something, or even just the first episode in some cases, and were like, yeah, nah, that's not. I don't like that. Fair enough, you know. But watching the entire show, and then not only getting mad about changes, which are inevitable, especially since they didn't have source material anymore at some point. But even worse, even stupider, complaining about the ending, which is George R. R. Martin's ending. You know? As if they just made up their own ending. I already explained it. It makes no sense. It makes no sense for them to make up an ending like that. Why? Why an ending like that? Of all the endings they could possibly have chosen if they made up their own ending. Why an ending like that? Why not make it more Hollywood then, at least, you know? Or make it more whatever, you know? But not that. The discussion boards. Actually, there are two things. Now, the second one comes to mind. Oh, damn it. Alright, but okay, so so the discussion boards, like I said, the comment section I actually mean. When I say discussion boards, I actually mean the comment section. In the comment section, I won't, like I said, I'm not trying to insult anyone personally, not even if I shout out morons or something. This is not against anyone personally, it's in the heat of the moment. I already explained that. I will not tolerate comments that are like, you suck, or something like that. Okay? I will not tolerate comments that are like you something. Okay? Unless I find them super hilarious for some reason, like mean tweets on Jimmy Kimmel, I'm probably gonna delete them. Okay? Then there's a second type of comment I might not delete, but probably not gonna respond to, which is just like, the ending sucks. Or how can I defend such a bad ending? The entire point of this video is that I obviously don't think it's a bad ending, and I don't think that it sucks. And if you don't even bother watching the video and trying to understand my point of view a little at least, and don't bother commenting. The second one is that came to mind right now, is I'm the kind of person who tends to defend things that appear to be generally hated. I like the ending of How I Met Your Mother. I did not see the problem that people had with. Okay, actually I kind of got it, but I also discussed with people, and even then, back then I actually told some people that I think they didn't get it. I'm not gonna get into detail now, which is one way in which this video differs from the other, because there I wasted time like talking about that in detail. No. But How I Met Your Mother is a very different kind of show. It's a sitcom, okay? We can argue whether it needed that ending. Game of Thrones did need that ending. It did need that ending. That was the only ending that made sense. And I'm trying to explain why that is. Oh yeah, and one thing that is very important is I predicted it. I wasn't the only one who predicted it. There were actually several YouTube videos before who predicted something like that to happen. You know, at least I didn't predict every detail. I did not predict Bran to be king, but I predicted something that was similar and came out of the same idea. And the reason I was able to predict the ending was first and foremost George R. R. Martin. His mindset, his way of thinking, the things that he said in interviews. Those things led me to finally get that this was the ending, that this was probably going to happen, and it had to happen. It was the only ending that made sense. And lo and behold, I was right. Now, how could that be if it was so not earned and came so out of nowhere? Keep that in mind, right? Some guy actually said, anyone anyone who knows bad TV could have predicted this. It was the people who expected something better who were disappointed. And I was basically like, define bad TV. No, I actually didn't say that. Maybe I should have. But I said, what are you talking about? I said, what are you talking about? What bad TV? TV can be bad in more than one way, you know? And or good, for that reason, for that matter. You know, there was no way to predict this particular ending, this exact ending, but this particular ending simply based on the fact that it was going to be bad. Regardless that I don't think it was bad anyway. And I didn't think it was going to be bad. I expected the ending that I thought was going to be the good ending, and here we are. And then he said, I said, what are you talking about? He said, I talk about the abysmal ending of Game of Thrones. The badly written part is the one I'm questioning here. You can't just repeat that and not even. I hope whoever watches this video gets that at least when I say it like that, you know. And otherwise, I'll try to explain it even better, hopefully, in the comment section. You realize what's the problem with that kind of thing, right? They don't really have any arguments, it seems, you know. It's just that's actually pretty revealing, because it's also what's really going on here. Because if people don't like the ending, I believe them that they don't like it. I don't think the reasons that they don't like it are the reasons that they say they don't like it. Okay, I think they just don't appreciate how the story turned out, not how it was written. They didn't appreciate what happened, not how it happened. This is so often the case. Like, I mean, the same. Like, a lot of the complaints are either things that you are either just wrong, just factually wrong, and just show that whoever makes them hasn't actually been paying attention. And I'll give some examples for that, maybe, or I forget about it, but then maybe in the comment section or in a different video. Or they are things that you find in every TV show and every movie. There were always flaws and plot holes like that. Avengers Endgame was praised beyond words for being so much better. Actually, I do think Avengers Endgame is better. One thing I should point out is that I personally was actually it was actually a mild disappointment and letdown for me, even for me. It wasn't the greatest ending it could possibly have had. It was probably the least disappointing one, partly because I predicted a lot of the things so well. But it wasn't that was one of the problems, so I can't even relate to being disappointed, in a way. Because it was, with a show like that, people expected it to blow everyone's mind, and it just didn't quite do that. It didn't. Well, it did not quite, it didn't just not quite do that. It didn't do it at all, actually. It was fine. It was okay, and it was a good ending, in my opinion. Especially because I predicted it. It was not whatever people thought it could possibly have been, which it couldn't possibly have been. Whatever people thought it was going to do to them, that would blow their minds like hell. Nikolai Coster-Waldau, who played Jamie, I really love that guy right now. Because he said basically exactly the things that I thought. Not only was he quite okay with Jamie's fate, and also for the reasons that I'm going to get into later, but also he said that with a show that popular, whatever the ending would have been, it would have been met with negative emotions simply because it was the ending. I want to add to that the reason for that is that it ends the possibilities of what could have been. There are so many possibilities. There were so many possible ways it could have ended, and now those possibilities are gone. This is the ending that we got, and simply for that people hated it. You know, that was part of the reason. The other part is that I believe that the message and the ideology that it's expressing is actually something that people didn't appreciate at all, even though they should have seen it coming. Because it's a point. This is what the story does. It looks like it starts off as looking like something else than it turns out to be, actually, and consequently it was watched by the wrong people, apparently. But so I mean, I guess in that sense, maybe one should say, okay, the people it's not their fault, you know, they were watching something else than they thought they were watching, or they were, yeah. But I'll still try to explain it, and I still can't. The real problem is still I can't appreciate this aggressiveness and hatred towards the showrunners. mostly because it's indirectly insulting people like me who did like it. Now here's a hopefully finally last thing before I actually start getting into detail that I gotta say about me is, I gotta admit rather, is I have not read the books as well as and I'm not as familiar with the books as I probably should be. I watched the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones and then thought it was smart to then watch the 4th book. Not a good idea, because there were things in that hadn't happened, things had already happened in the books that hadn't happened on the show yet, and also things that had already happened on the show that hadn't happened in the books yet, and where I actually had to read again even though they already had happened on the show. It was a bit of a mess, and then I listened to most of book 1 as an audiobook and a bit of book 2, and book 3 I haven't even held in my hands yet, or I haven't even heard it or read a single sentence from, I think, so far. So I still believe that I just, like I said, my predictions for the ending were based on the story so far, the part of the show that is still pretty close to the books, because it can be, because there were still books to be close to, and also the things that George R. R. Martin said in interviews, his mindset as it shows in interviews, as I thought it showed in interviews, and also in the story so far, and in the parts of the show where it was still very close to the books. And lo and behold, I was right. The expectations, the predictions came true, or at least to a certain extent. So apparently, I got George R. R. Martin, in spite of not having read all the books, I got George R. R. Martin better than some of his readers did. Sorry, but I mean, some of his readers, I had discussions with them, and they were like, well, this and that is certainly not going to happen in the books, and blah, 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 and I was like, yes it is, you didn't get the author, and so, okay. But I mean, that's one thing also I need to point out, the last 2 books haven't come out yet, so I could end this video here, because as long as the last 2 books haven't come out yet, I can prove that it's going to be different in the book, I can prove that it's going to be the same in the books, and you guys can prove that it's going to be different. And that's that, but there's still things I want to explain in detail. And again, mostly letting off steam, mostly, yeah, having to get this off my chest, what this is about. So, finally, at last, I'm gonna get to what actually happens on the show and the details. Or first of all, so like I said, I'm gonna go back to the ending. I start with Jon going over the wall. Now, how anyone could have a problem with that, I don't understand. I have no clue. Some people thought it was okay. Some people thought why. Some people wondered why Jon. Some people wanted Jon to end up as king. I so predicted that Jon was not going to be king. That was so obvious that Jon was not going to be king. That would have been such a cliche, you know. That would have been much too standard for Game of Thrones. Of course, a character like Jon would never gonna actually be king. How could anyone think differently? Because I said it before. I said it in comment sections. I said it's gonna be about the ending of the Targaryens. The idea is that the Targaryens, that simply reinstalling the Targaryen rule isn't the solution either. And then some guy was like, no, it's about the beginning of the Targaryens. They're gonna rise again like the phoenix, blah blah blah. And I was like, no, dude, you didn't get it. That guy didn't get the author. I did. Who predicted the ending right? Of course, Jon wasn't gonna be king. The idea was that the Targaryens had to end. The Targaryens were a problem. The Targaryens were horrible. That is one of the tricks that the story does. It distracts us with Joffrey and Cersei and that stuff, to make us kind of forget that the Targaryens were horrible, were a huge problem. The Targaryens were the one who started all this. Aegon built the wheel. There was some reaction where they were like, when this choosing the king thing happens, you were like, why not Jon? Jon is the one who was on trial, you know. You realize that, right? So choosing Jon as a king to pass his own sentence would have been kind of weird, to say the least. So no, of course it couldn't be Jon couldn't be elected king, and why Jon couldn't end up king story-wise I already tried to explain, because it was about the Targaryens having to end, and also because that would have been exactly like Game of Thrones. You have this likable young, not that young anymore in that case, but you know, hero type Aragorn, who then ends up king because, remember the interviews with George R. R. Martin, that's exactly the kind of thing that he questions. He's like, why? What makes Aragorn a good king? He has been, the fact that he is good at killing orcs, does that make him a good king? Does it mean he is good at taking care of the people and managing economic stuff and whatever, you know, and diplomatic, I don't know, relationships to Rohan or whatever, I don't know, you know. So there's that, and that is a very important quote when it comes to our beloved Daenerys already, you know. I'm getting ahead of myself a little. Now, some people complained that Jon going north of the wall wasn't a happy enough ending for him, but quite frankly, it's not like Jon would have been happy on the throne. Seriously? Where you did not really follow the story and what kind of character he was before that. If he had been happy, I mean, it's not Jon. Jon wouldn't have been happy on the throne. Jon wouldn't definitely not have been happy in Winterfell. He does not associate a single happy memory with that place. The happiest he was in his life was with Ygritte, was north of the wall, when it was with Ygritte. Ygritte is dead, but maybe you find new Ygritte. No, he liked it there. That was the happiest he was in his life, you know. It's actually the happiest anyone could possibly imagine for Jon. Same goes for Arya. Arya loves traveling. Arya is not someone who stays in one place. She loves traveling, and I belong to the people who would love to see that spin-off. Although, as some of the reactors pointed out, I hope she doesn't bring diseases, which is actually a good point. But that guy was fine with the ending, by the way, you know. And as for Arya and her killing the Night King, Arya is interesting. I mean, everything is interesting, I guess, but Arya is interesting. It's interesting how Arya gets a pass in all of this. Jon gets sent to the wall for one murder, and she's like a mass murderess. And her family kind of knows that, and doesn't seem to have a problem with that. No, but I mean, Arya. But you know, this is one of the issues that Game of Thrones is dealing with. Family is complicated. You know, you tend to forgive your family things that you know, wouldn't forgive other people or whatever. But also, I mean, Arya regained a lot of likability points for me this season and in the last season anyway, because she took even before she killed the Night King, because she took Sansa's side then back in the first episode, etc. But as for her killing the Night King, yeah, I get into why I think I get it. I have no idea what the problem is people have with that. Well, I have a bit of an idea, but it's just again not really haven't gotten the story. I get into that, but I just wanted to say that she redeemed herself a little by saving humanity from extinction, I guess. So, and also she is kind of like a self-chosen exile that she goes into in the beginning. So I guess that's fair enough. You know, it's not like it's not like she gets rewarded too much, or in a way that, yeah. I mean, I guess she should. I mean, justifiably she should be sentenced to death, I guess, for another murder she committed, even though those people were. But here's one thing that people need to understand. It's not supposed to be a completely happy ending without any real questionable things in there, you know? Because we weren't promised a happy ending, we were promised a bittersweet ending. One of the bittersweet part is that of the entire from the beginning actually, is that the good guys aren't actually good guys. Not in the Avengers kind of sense or whatever, you know? Maybe in a No, not even, I mean, yeah. I mean, yes, the Starks are kind of the heroes. The Starks are kind of the tragic heroes even. But they're not completely good guys. All of the characters are flawed and deeply flawed. And some of them in a horrible way even, you know. And it was never supposed to be any different, you know. Which leads me to Sansa. Sansa, I became a Sansa fan at some point, a fan of hers. I always had this, there was always this Daenerys versus Sansa debate, you know. Like Daenerys fans hated Sansa with a passion. And of course they hate her more now because Daenerys, it's really funny what die-hard Daenerys fans took away from episode 4 of season 8, which to me was so obvious, Daenerys revealing her true self when Daenerys learns about Jon's true heritage. The way she reacts is so revealing that was already yeah, that would have been a reason already for people to complain that she suddenly turned evil, which she didn't, because she didn't turn more evil than she already was, and I get into that. But it wasn't. You know why? Because they didn't see it. So careful what you say. Because when I point out all the foreshadowing and development in season 8, and some people that actually happened already. Also, some people were like, "Yeah, but that was already them screwing up. You know, they had already ruined the character there. Yeah, except you didn't notice that, did you? So careful what you say there, you know, because that actually the fact that you guys did not know. I'm talking directly to Daenerys fans now. The fact that you guys did not realize that at the time already says so much. Because the entire point of the Daenerys story is to purposefully manipulate the viewer or reader into perceiving her as a hero when she can just as well be seen as a villain and should be. A villain is a hero of the other side. That is a famous quote from George R. R. Martin. But back to Sansa. First of all, I think Sansa has a beautiful redemption arc. She has a beautiful redemption arc. I mean, the fact that she, of all Stark children, is the one who embraces her Stark side the most, and her northern side, you know, now. And is the most northern of them all, and that she, of all the Stark children, is the one to follow in Ned's footsteps. And there's a good reason that she's being specifically referred to as Ned Stark's daughter by Jon in that goodbye scene there, you know. Speaking of that scene, by the way, there were some people who actually, from the fact that Jon, I think it must be Jon and Sansa. I recently rewatched the scene and I don't remember Jon and Sansa particularly looking at each other, but it must be Jon and Sansa because, yeah, it must be Jon and Sansa. Okay, I don't remember which were two characters who were, but it's just so and so and so. When Jon and Sansa look at each other, they both fade geography. That is something that D&D wrote into the script. Now some people actually, a lot of people, actually from that is actually evidence to some people that they are unprofessional writers. Like, how ridiculous can you get? What the F? Carice van Houten, the actress who played Melisandre, said years ago in an interview that she finds it funny how D&D write their scripts because they sometimes write those things in like when Melisandre tries to seduce Jon. They wrote in the script, Jon says, I took a vow. And then they wrote in the script, Melisandre gives him the look like, please. how is that, them writing something like that in the script, evidence for them being bad writers or unprofessional writers? What the are you like, what? It's just a bit of fun for the actors. Those scripts weren't even supposed to be read by the public, and they probably released them thinking that it might amuse people. Instead, those douches, those douchebags come along and say, "This is see, they're unprofessional writers because they failed geography into the script." What does that have to do with being an unprofessional writer? Are you completely... Did something crawl into your brains and die or something? Like, seriously? Why aren't they not allowed to write something a little funny and entertaining for the actors into the script that has absolutely nothing to do with how good the script is? You people are unbelievable. Sansa has a beautiful redemption arc. That's all I'm gonna say. I can't complain about her arc anyway, but a lot of people didn't. So I became a Sansa fan at some point. Now here's the interesting part. I thought that Sansa was gonna be a queen. And when I mean queen, I was convinced of that by GOT Academy, who make very entertaining videos and made some good points. They were wrong, ultimately, but not completely wrong. She does become a queen, and the foreshadowing is really strong in the story of Sansa becoming queen, a queen. It just didn't quite mean what we thought it meant. One of the reasons I thought it was going to be Sansa, and that was a huge part of the Sansa versus Daenerys debate, was because I realized that George R.R. Martin was the kind of author who'd put a boring character like Sansa on the throne rather than Daenerys. Because that was the point he was trying to make, that a character can be as entertaining as he wants to be, or she, but that still doesn't make them good kings. That is exactly the point. That is the Lord of the Rings problem that he has, you know? That just because Aragorn is and whatever doesn't make him a good king. And there is absolutely zero reasons in the story that the story gives us to believe that Daenerys is going to be a good queen. Absolutely zero. I challenge you to say me one thing, and mind you, tell me talk about what she is, not what she isn't, and talk about what she does and not what she doesn't do. Because a lot of people are like, what people basically said is, I'm mocking this now, of course, but you know, I'm like exaggerating it to mock it, but what people were basically saying is, well, Daenerys didn't want to harm innocents until she does. I mean, so Daenerys saying she doesn't want to harm innocents, she does harm a lot of innocents along the way already. You know, maybe not even maybe not even intentionally, but the fact that she does it is already bad enough. Because the reasons for that are her dragons, and the fact that she doesn't can't control them completely. But mostly they're dragons. They are dangerous killing machines. Keep that in mind, right? Again, I got ahead of myself a little, but like I said, I have a vague idea how I was going to structure the video, but it was obvious. I already knew that I was going to jump back and forth, you know. So what I'm really getting at here at this particular moment is that the reason I thought Sansa was going to end up on the throne was the same reason that Bran ended up on the throne. Basically, actually, it's one of the reasons that Bran ended up on the throne, and I get to Bran in a minute. Because like I said, I knew that George R.R. Martin was going to be the kind of author who'd put a boring character on the throne rather than a entertaining character who would not actually be a good king or queen in real life, you know. Sansa is an annoying character because she questions Daenerys' decisions. She questions Jon's decisions. That makes her a better queen than both of them. A better ruler than both of them. Because they're both very hot-headed. because the problem is they're both not king/queen material. Neither Jon nor Daenerys. Because they're both fighters, they're killers. Remember the dialogue between Ned and Renly in the first season. honest, tell me, Lord Stark. I don't think the quote is completely accurate, but I'm paraphrasing a little, I guess. But well, Ned says basically when he wants to put Stannis on the throne, he says he hasn't lost any battles or something like that. And then Randy says, yes, he's a good soldier. Everyone knows that. So was Robert. Tell me, Lord Stark, do you still think good soldiers make good kings? Need I say more? With what I already explained. I mean, you know. So that's that. So, and the only difference is that it ended up being Bran. And now I get to Bran. What has Bran ever done? Why Bran? That makes no sense. This is so stupid. Okay. And in the meantime, after I did the first version of this, the BoJack Horseman finale has come out. For those who even know the show, I think it's not as popular as Game of Thrones. I'm not entirely sure how many people have seen it, of those who might watch this video. But anyway, look at the BoJack Horseman fans. Guys, please take them as a... There. Let them tell you that let the BoJack Horseman fans watch the videos about the ending of BoJack Horseman. This is such a delight. This is such a relief as a comparison, because that show is also one that one needs to think a little about. In the case of Game of Thrones, people just didn't get that. That's the problem, I think. In the case of BoJack Horseman, it was pretty clear from the beginning. That's the difference. Different kind of audience, That's the problem. Game of Thrones was watched by the wrong people, apparently. It was watched by the wrong audience. Apparently, that's part of the problem anyway, it seems. BoJack Horseman, the fan base is much smaller, but they're really cool guys. They really understand the show. They watch the show they like the show for what it is. They like the show for doing things differently. For punching them in the guts sometimes, as does Game of Thrones. That's what makes this whole thing so inexplicable to me, and that's why part of the reasons why it's getting me so worked up, worked up. Why it's getting me so worked up? I think that's the expression. I hope that's right. Because it's not like we could. It's like this is the show Game of Thrones I'm talking about now. Well, I'm talking about Game of Thrones anyway mostly, but Game of Thrones is the show that killed off its main character in the first season, and then it killed off its second main character in the third season, and then it killed children and did all kinds of horrible things that one wouldn't expect. How could you not expect a show like that to end like this? How did you expect it to end? What? Why? What? How? BoJack Horseman fans like the show for what it is. They never had any illusions or delusions. They never had any illusions about what the show was. They liked it for what it was. So let the BoJack Horseman fans explain to you how one sometimes needs to think about a series finale just a tiny little bit in order to be able to appreciate it, okay? I mean, you don't have to do that at all. No one's forcing you. I just mean that, again, not liking it is one thing, but not liking it in this particular aggressive way, that is what leads me to responding accordingly and equally aggressive. Now, in that sense, now let's get to Bran. Why is Bran on the throne? Because, first of all, for the reason that I already said, the same reason I thought Sansa was going to be on the throne. Because George R. R. Martin I knew he was going to be the kind of author to put a boring character on the throne rather than someone like Daenerys, for the reasons I already explained. And lo and behold, he did. It just wasn't the boring character that I thought it was. Sansa wasn't actually boring enough, that was the problem. So you're admitting that Bran is boring. Yeah, well, Bran is boring. The thing about Bran is the only character who doesn't actually have any characteristics. And that's exactly the point. Because it doesn't really matter who actually sits on the throne. It doesn't really matter. But that's what we've been watching the show for. And you've been watching it for the wrong... And you've been watching it for the wrong reasons. That is That is one of the things that Game of Thrones fans didn't get, and where I got the author better than they did, apparently. Of course, he would place a character like that on the throne, because the point is that it doesn't really matter what actual person sits on the throne. The people remember the dialogue between Varys and Tyrion. Power is a trick, a shadow on the wall. Power resides where men believe it resides. Yeah. The person who sits on the throne is unimportant. It doesn't have to be a particularly important it doesn't matter whether the character within the story as a character is a particularly interesting character. On the contrary, it matters whether that character is a good king. Well, right, so now that leads to the question, why is Bran a good king? Remember the dialogue between Tywin and Tommen. Remembering a dialogue is crucial here. Remember the dialogue between Tywin and Tommen in season 4, where they talk about what makes a good king, and they come to the conclusion wisdom is what makes a good king. Now, of course, there's a difference between wisdom and knowledge, as we all know. But I would say Bran represents wisdom. This whole thing has to be seen more symbolic. But I don't want to see it symbolically. Well, okay, you don't have to, but I'm just trying to explain to you that if you see it symbolically, and I can imagine a character, I could imagine an author like George R. R. Martin to think like that and make something that like that, and look at it more symbolically, and mean it more symbolically, which means to actually put a little thought into it, rather than just putting the most interesting character on the throne. I mean, that's why I was wrong about Sansa, because even Sansa on the throne would have been too been too Hollywood, because the Hollywood way would be that this is one particular character's journey to greatness, basically. Sansa on the throne would have made the entire thing too much Sansa's story in retrospect. It would have seemed like she was the only character that mattered. Of course, that's the reason why some people resented the ending. That's the problem that some people had with the ending, because now they are like, well, all I can think about now is Bran. Yeah, well, try not to think about Bran too much, because the point is, people try to forget about Bran for a second and rather look at his small council. That is much more important. The characters that sit in Bran's small council are the most likable and smartest. The smartest and most likable characters the show has to offer. Some of the most likable characters. Basically all of them. It's Brienne, it's Davos, characters that people absolutely loved. It's Sam, and it's Tyrion. And it's Bronn, who's... I mean, Bronn on the small council is the most questionable thing about this. Tyrion is already pretty questionable. Bronn is also rather questionable. Okay, again, remember, it's not supposed to be a happy ending. It's supposed to be a bittersweet ending, and the bitter part can be questionable things like that. Like Arya getting away where she probably shouldn't, I already mentioned that. Like Bronn being on the small council, But all in all, the small council is pretty cool. It consists of the most likable characters one could possibly imagine. Why aren't people celebrating the fact that Davos is in the small council? That is awesome. The fact that Sam is in the small council. The fact that Brienne is in the small council. That is awesome. And Tyrion is Hand. I didn't even expect him to survive. How can this not be awesome? I don't understand it. Because people focus far too much on the person on the throne still. Because it didn't get that this is the point. That's not actually what it's about. And also it's on a more meta level, so to speak. Bran on the throne represents the fact that it's not actually... Game of Thrones was never... Like I said, had it been even Sansa, it would have been too much Sansa's story in retrospect. But Game of Thrones has never actually been about one character. It has been about characters, plural. And Bran on the throne represents that. Bran not actually being a character represents that, because the characters who surround him, who actually form the small council, are the more important ones. And just as Tywin said in season 4 to Tommen, a good king should do, Bran actually listens to them. That's what makes him a good king. What makes him Bran a good king is, first of all, he knows things. He doesn't even drink, he just knows things. Okay, so he can't do any stupid decisions, which basically all the kings and queens before him have made, based on not really knowing things. Daenerys' problem was not knowing the country well enough. She tried to conquer it. She tried to conquer Westeros the same way she conquered other cities, or King's Landing the same way she conquers other cities, and that didn't work because there weren't any slaves to free. As Tyrion pointed out, there are no slaves in King's Landing. There are no slaves in Westeros. There haven't been slaves in Westeros for hundreds of years. So how is someone whose entire popularity was always just based on freeing slaves, and even the freeing of the slaves is very questionable. Mind you, I get to that. How is someone whose popularity was always just based on freeing slaves, what is someone like that, like Daenerys, is going to do in Westeros where there aren't slaves? She should have known that people there weren't gonna see the savior in her that the people in Essos saw in her, because she freed slaves, and even there, let's rather say freed slaves. Okay, well, I get to that, like I said. So yeah, Bran has knowledge. He can't really do stupid decisions because he's not as emotional. And some people then some people said, why would an emotional king be a good thing? Well, it's not like Bran is not a cynic. It's not cynical. It's not like Bran wants order. Bran is basically Bran is the three-eyed raven. The three-eyed raven is someone who wants order and knowledge to rule the world, you know. And Bran wants everything to work out, which is evidenced by the fact that he actually listens to his small council. Actually, he lets the small council most of the work, but the small council is doing most of the work anyway. The difference between, and then now, because some smart people are like, what is the difference between Bran and Robert? The difference is, and this is something that people tend to forget, that Bran actually listens to the small council, because the real problem with Robert wasn't so much that he did. The real problem with Robert wasn't so much that he made the small council do all the work. It was the fact that he didn't listen to them. He made decisions over their heads. He decided things without consulting them. That was the problem. He didn't listen to them. They were like, don't spend so much money, and he was like, yeah, whatever. You know, I want to make a tournament. I want to make blah 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 blah. You know, that is something that Bran would obviously not be doing. It was partly because he doesn't have any interest in such things. You know. Yeah, that's why Bran is a good king. Bran is a good king because he's not actually a person. He's not actually a character. That's why he's a good king, because he's more like a blank space, and that's the point, you know. And to other people who get upset about a boring character who is actually just a blank space sitting on the throne, again, it's not as important who sits on the throne. And even if it is so important to you, please at least try to remember try to focus a little more on the characters surrounding him. That is more important. The small council, that is more important. The fact that those likable characters who we all like and who have also proven to be smart and good at their job. What Culture made a video that I really like after the 5th episode, where they explain a couple things that people apparently didn't get, and then which led to some people, another couple comment section say like they're just making up problems to then solve them, and then they're kind of like no one, like they are just explaining things that no one would actually question, but that's not true. A lot of people do question them, and a lot of people even question them in this comment section. You know? But what I'm getting at is what culture then. But then, of course, when Bran gets king, that is the moment that killed the show. Because then what culture? That was the final straw. That was enough. Now they couldn't defend it anymore. Now they had to make a. They made a top 10 list moments that killed TV shows. One of them was, of course, the ending from How I Met Your Mother. Another was something from Lost, I guess. And another was then there was the Rachel and Joey relationship between friends on Friends, which I also never had a problem with. But okay, never mind. Still, again, a different kind of show from a long time ago. I still like it. Anyway, whatever. Nostalgia and whatever. I'm rambling. No, but they also one of those moments just had to be Bran as king, of course, because okay, no, but they made a different. What kind of made a different list, which is actually not as, which not made me as mad, because they were not judging. They were just pointing out some stuff. It wasn't in a judgy way. They were just actually. It was more in a respectful way. It seemed. But it was one point where they were wrong about, which was, there was a list, I made a list, horrifying implications of the ending of Game of Thrones you didn't get. One of them was Grey Worm being killed by butterflies, which apparently is a thing, and other stuff like that. And one of them was the small council isn't good at their jobs. Beg to differ. I have to wholeheartedly disagree about that. They are good at their jobs. That's just, sorry, but this is just not true. Those are all smart people. Sam cured grayscale, for crying out loud. Star Wars was always smart. No one ever doubted that Star Wars was smart. And Brienne is a badass fighter who's also not exactly stupid. You know, Bronn is also not stupid. He's just a bit of a jerk. That's a problem. He's just a cynic. But I guess the others tame him a little in that. They are already trying, and ultimately Bronn can't do anything horrible without, and he won't. He never did. He always just did what he was told when he was paid for it. So it does not exactly make him a really good person, but it does not necessarily make him a bad master. What was it? Master of Coins? Yeah, Master of Coins. So yeah, but I just mean. Yeah, I think I have a good chance of getting done in one go this time, especially if I just skip to Daenerys now. There's two major things that I'm gonna have to discuss. It's Daenerys and it's the Night King and the whole thing. So I already said enough about Bran, I think, and if you still didn't get it, we can still discuss this in the comment section. Again, I already pointed out the kinds of comments that I'm going to delete or not respond to. Oh, and by the way, I hate the fact that I really wish I could. I mean, I know that it's possible to switch off the comment section, whatever you call that. Disable? No, that's not it. Wait a minute, you know what I mean. To switch off the comment section. I cannot forbid people from making thumbs down, from clicking thumbs down. So I already know, and I already hate it so much that I'm probably gonna have like a ton of thumbs down for this video. Just clicking thumbs down is not any better than just saying something like that. You know, it's the same thing. You either explain it or you don't even bother. You know, I don't need to be insulted. I don't need anyone making thumbs down without even bothering to explain or anything or even discuss. You know, this is really it's making me really effing angry, but I can't do anything about it. I just want to point that out because maybe some of you guys who at least watch this have the decency to then not do that at all. I know that's but I can't really stop people from doing that. It's a problem. It's really